as presented.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no.
Okay.
Uh, 7-0.
Mine didn't pop up.
Mine just did. Pass 7-0. The mission of USD 49 is to provide a quality learning experience for every student in every classroom every day. To support the mission of the district, the USD 49 Board of Education includes supporting a vision that encompasses high student achievement, highly effective staff, effective and positive communications, and effective management of resources. Consent agenda. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, consent agenda, you'll have your board meeting minutes from previous meeting, financials. Chris, anything financials? Yep. Site council minutes from Hayes Middle School, personnel transactions. We do have a couple of retirements that we want to recognize. Donna Hudson Hamilton, who has been with the district 33 years with USD 489, started out as a school psych, will be retiring at the end of the year, and we are sorry to see her go. She has definitely been a foundational piece for our district for a lot of times, for a lot of years. So appreciate that. And also Jolene Vitzum, who has been with the district 21 years, and Jolene is just a great teacher for us. Has, I think, taught at Holy Family prior to coming to our district, but just so appreciative of Jolene. So 2 retirements there. And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
I request to move the minutes.
2.2?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That'll be 6.3, correct? Yes. We're good. So everybody needs to refresh. Good? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Make the motion.
Motion's been made. Second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, no.
No.
6-1. Six one.
It's popped right now.
Passes 6-1. 3.1, public comment. Is anybody wanting to speak to the board tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to 4, presentations and recognitions. Mr. Wilson.
Okay, this is the fun one. You want to bring them in now? Okay, here we come. Yeah.
Wake him up.
Do we need to turn the cameras around so we can see all of this?
What's that?
Do we need to turn the cameras around so we can see all of this? This is exciting.
There used to be a camera up there.
They come up here.
Oh, it's right there.
Maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
he'll get it. Yeah.
I taught half their dads. Moms.
very often, so this is pretty cool. About a little over a month and a half ago, we started this kind of magical ride in our community with what our Hayes High football team pulled off. And I told Tony, I said, probably the only thing more difficult is, I guess trying to win a championship without your top two quarterbacks is probably getting boys to come to a board meeting on Monday night. That might be more difficult. And he did a really good job. So you can see we got a coach who is successful in a lot of different things. So I just can't, I know Coach Crow, the accolades have been piled on you, but what you did for our community, did for our school, cannot be overstated. That was one of the coolest things that I have ever got to experience, and so many in our community are so proud of all of you, and this is just an opportunity one more time to say how proud we are of you. Also, we can't shortchange the coach, because he's going to get up here and he's going to speak, and he's not going to talk about himself, so I'm going to say it myself. Yesterday, Coach Crow was named the Sports in Kansas 5A Coach of the Year, and he was also named the Kansas Football Coaches Association 5A Coach of the Year, and I'm sure there's probably more and more. We got a really good coaching staff and a really good bunch of young men, and so I'll let Coach Crow say everything he needs to say.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Wilson. Thank you. Those honors are tremendous, and they all happen with all these great young men, a great community, and we're going to talk more about that. But along with the coaching piece of it, there's a couple of our coaches here tonight. It's not hard to get the kids here. It's hard to get the coaches here. They don't want any attention. They don't want any of that. And Coach Walker had to bring a bunch of kids up here, so he rolled in. You guys know Jake Deck, who sits back here. I don't know if Jake came in or not. He's probably hiding.
He's hiding.
But Coach Deck is one of our coaches, so he's up here. Coach Walker is one of our coaches. He's up here, and we've got phenomenal coaches. And along with the KFBCA stuff, our assistant coach, our defensive coordinator, Kip Keeley, got named the assistant coach of the year with the Kansas Football Coach Association today. So it was a pretty cool honor. It was really weird or really crazy how that went down. So the voting, when you start doing that, the voting comes down to you get to nominate assistant coaches, and a lot of people nominate their coaches just because we like to give them recognition, because we know it's not about us, but it's about all of our coaches that help us out. Well, I nominated our offensive coordinator, Cole Cherryholmes, our defensive coordinator, Kip Keeley, and they were the top two vote getters. And Kip ended up at the very end. Someone voted for Kip. He got one extra point. Coach Keeley did over Coach Cherryholmes. So they were the top two vote getters in the state for 5A. And I actually split the vote, and I put 1.5 on each. You could put 2 on one on the other, and I put 1.5 on each. So they didn't get mad at me, and something bad happened there. But so it ended up it would have ended up a 0.5 point. So it was really cool. They ended up top two, and then that goes to all classes, and there's an all-class assistant coach of the year, and Coach Keeley won the all-class assistant coach of the year. Of course, he didn't want to be here tonight to be the face of that, but it was really cool how that worked out. So our coaches are really special. There's some of our managers here tonight with us as well. Clayton Walters is here with us, and he's been helping us out for a couple of years now, doing a great job. And Jordan Walker's here, and Jordan's on year 4 of being with us, helping out, and she's going to graduate and move on. And just special people. It takes so much more than just the players. And I think I got all the coaches and managers here, didn't I? I think I got them all. And then, the players that are here tonight, here with us, I'm sure we're missing a couple, and I don't know who exactly is all here. And we gave them the all call to get up here, and they came running like they always do. And we started the season with 107 players, which is the highest that anybody can remember in the history of Hayes High. So it's a really special thing. When we got into the playoffs, we gave everybody the opportunity, if they want to stay with us, as we're going to have a chance to make a run, they can stay with us. If they didn't want to stay with us, then that was fine. They could go ahead and move on to whatever else they wanted to do in the winter, and then we'd give them a chance to come back next year. And I think we ended up right around 70 to 75. I think it's about 73. That's what we ended up carrying through the playoffs. But I think when we were 4-4, we just got beat by Liberal. I think there's about 30 of them that said, yeah, it's kind of cold. I don't know if I'm going to stick around. This much longer. But we decided to keep it going and keep having fun with it. So just a couple other things before I get into the boys, and to have some individual awards as well. 100 and I think think it was 101 years of football at Hayes High School. 60 years that there's been an actual tournament play where there's a champion at the end of the year. You actually play through for a champion. Before that, they just named a state champion. But in the 60 years, in the 100 years of Hayes High football, in the last 60 years, this is the first and only team to make it to a state championship game. So that deserves a big round of applause. There have been 6 teams in the history of Hayes High School that have made it to a championship game in a tournament format. Not counting meets, not counting multiple meets where it's, it could be a track meet or a golf tournament or something where multiple teams are competing against each other. But a true championship game that ends with one team playing the other at the end of a tournament, there's only been 6 teams that have made it to a championship game. And these boys were able to do that. So a really special thing. I'm sure that if you ask them and you talk to them about what they like the most, the send-off the community gave us, my daughter still talks about it, and these boys are going to talk about it, and it's going to be a lifelong memory for everybody in this town. And that's some of the things we were so proud of, and being able to bring that to the community, because it's just such a special thing. Those were some of the special moments we really enjoyed. Of course, beating Great Bend, that was a lot of fun. We came back and got that done and had some special things moving through the playoffs. But just a really special team that did a lot of special things. Individually, there's been some awards that have come out, and there's going to be a lot more because they're coming. They're starting to come through all the publications. But of course, there was the KFBCA, which all the football coaches in Kansas were at for the last day down there, and that's where I was at today. And we just got back about 3 o'clock. Me and 4 of my assistant coaches. And in those awards, those are senior-only awards that were voted on today. And in those awards, Dalton Myers was selected as a linebacker, and Ian McGuire was selected as an athlete for the KFBCA All-State team. So congrats to those people. For the All-Western Kansas team, which is selected by it's selected by the Hill Brothers, which is an organization that tries to highlight Western Kansas kids that they don't feel like are getting the recognition they deserve, because it's tougher out here, and we all understand that. Gus Corsair got named to the top 11 for the All-Western Kansas team for the Hill Brothers Award, so congrats, Gus. And of course, our All-Western Athletic Conference Awards, which were voted on 6 weeks ago. I think if those were re-voted, they would look a lot different as well. But the guys that got those accolades, first of all, on the second team offense, we had Johnny Cano and Parker McGuire, which got accolades for All-Western Athletic Conference. On the first team for the offense, we had Gus Corsair and Holden Lynn. And on the first team for the defense, we had Tanner Geist, Wyatt Kirkpatrick, Cooper Lindenmeyer, and Dalton Myers. So they all missed some that are out already. I don't know, did I? Are there any more out anywhere that I missed? But they're coming out. They're piling in right now. They all start coming out. Follow on social media, and you'll see them all out there. But I think if you asked all these boys, what they think of all the awards, of course they like all the individual stuff. Man, the sweetest thing was going to state. It was a special memory. It was something that we were really proud to bring to the community. It doesn't happen out in Western Kansas. It really doesn't. It's been 20 years since a big school from Western Kansas took a team to the state championship game, and it's been it's near 30 years since the team's won one, and we plan on going back. It's really hard to get there, but it's a really fun road to get there, and we're really proud of these guys. So seniors, anybody want to say anything? I'm putting them on the spot. Wyatt? Nothing?
I can if I need to.
What do you got, Wyatt?
On behalf of the team, we just kind of want to thank everybody here and all of the people in the community of Hayes, because having the people behind our back was probably the biggest thing for us in this playoff run. As our shirts say, all of Hayes, because it really was an all Hayes thing. So we do deeply appreciate that from everybody in this room.
Wyatt's the team spokesperson. He's also the one you saw getting hyped in the middle of the field. Now with the basketball team, he's the one that's up and down in the student section, but really proud. It's a group that ended up with 12 seniors, and as you can see, it was a tough road to get there. We got quarterback over here that's injured, quarterback over here that's injured. Jace is walking around somewhere with still a club on his, there he is, back here with, I mean, we had knees getting looked at and all kinds of, but I think if you ask the boys if they would do it all again with all the injuries and everything, they would all say yes. So we had a great experience. It's something we hope we can make the town proud, and thank you so much for being behind us, and appreciate Mr. Wilson, and let's keep it going, keep supporting us because great things are happening, and we're gonna keep it going.
I wanted to say, truly, Coach Crow, you have been one of the best coaches that I have ever gotten the honor of teaching with. You really hold your players accountable on the field and off the field, and like their success is really a testament to you. You are an excellent coach, and we are so lucky to have you. I also wanted to say, I think it's Mr. Lind and Mr. Cano that got touchdowns at a state championship game, correct? That is really, really cool. That is something that can never be beat, and I just, I wanted to commend your guys' ability to overcome adversity and push through to the end of the game, and making a last-second touchdown is truly just, that was a tough game, and that was incredible. So congratulations. Never let go of that. That was very cool.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. And to add on to that,
And
we figured out we're the last team in the state this year to score a touchdown. You don't give consolation prizes. We're the last team in the state. Johnny's always going to be the last person to score a touchdown, and Ian threw it to him. We're the last in the where'd you go, Ian? There you are, right next to each other. Threw it to him. They'll be the last. They'll always be known as the last touchdown scored in the 2024 season.
That's cool.
In Kansas high school football. And on top of that, Ian had never thrown a football before until that game, so that's pretty impressive. And he went out and threw two, and that's why he got the Athlete of the Award or the Athlete of the Year award at KFBCA. Also, we were the last team home in the state. We got about 3 o'clock, but it made it so nice because we had beautiful buses and we had great things. I mean, it's you guys don't understand how important all that is to get up and down the road. We traveled. I don't know. We haven't added it up yet. They kept calling us the Road Warriors, but we were all over the place. Denver, went to Denver, and we came back from there, stayed the night. I mean, it was just, if you added it all up, it was well worth it, and we were riding in style. And thank you so much for giving us that opportunity to have great buses to ride on.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you too. I know when I talked to you a few years back about having our own football stadium someday, and next year that's going to happen. So seniors, I'm sorry you'll miss out on that, but next year our juniors, sophomores, and freshmen that are here that get to play on that field, I'm so excited for you. And Dustin Armbruster on the Great Bend game, I listened to it on the radio, I wasn't able to go, but he had made a comment that the last time that was a shutout, you were a senior in high school. That's what he said.
Really?
You didn't even know that, but
That was a while ago.
But yeah, the Great Bend game was very exciting too, boys. Just listening to it too on the radio. It's like Mitch Holtis just right here with us. So I'm proud of all you boys. Stay focused, stay strong, and stay football. Love it.
Thank you, Mr. Drew. Thank you. Thank you. If there's no other comments, I'd like to roll the boys through and shake your hand or.
Yep.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Banner. Thank you so much. Boys, let's go on through. Shake hands.
Wow, where's that?
Seniors go first.
I want to know. Where's my employee? I'm going to give him that business. Or Dalton. Dalton's the rep. You didn't know I could clean up, did you, Dalton? Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Your dad's got to be proud. Congratulations.
Your whole-
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
How are you? Congratulations. Good.
Great job.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I'm going to get tired of congratulations.
Good job, guys.
How are you?
No. Mr. Deccan's going to get you.
Congratulations. How are you?
Congratulations.
Good. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job.
put that right there. Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations. A little bit harder. Congrats, man. Congratulations.
Oh, quick recap. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You were out there, you were the one out in the hall, weren't you?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job.
Congratulations. 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 You must have got the email, huh, Jackson? What's up? Congratulations. 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 Strong work. Congratulations. 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 Congratulations.
Congratulations. Doing great? Keep going?
Congratulations. Congratulations. You guys running behind basketball practice?
Good job.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good job.
You're welcome.
It's because of the cake.
Got it once, good.
Tony, I want to do that again next year.
Hey, next year we have a trophy.
Next year we'll have a trophy. I don't think anything else is going to beat that for this meeting. We can go home. Call it a day.
Just call it.
Call it.
Oh, we have an agenda.
Okay, I don't know if we'll beat it, but we got something really cool. Mark Holman from KSB is here. Mark started over, I don't know, he'll tell you a little bit about, he went out to try and identify some high-performing schools based on some characteristics that he was looking for that would show success. We were identified as one of the high-performing school districts in the state of Kansas by Mark's characteristics. And so he came to our district, spent some time in our district, but he also spent time in the other districts, 39 districts. And basically what he's here today, I asked him to come, is to just share the results of what he found out during his entire journey. So I think I've said enough. I'll let turn it over to Mark.
Well, when you invited me, you didn't tell me I'd have to follow the program. I feel great. And so, yeah, I'm going to try to top that, but I doubt I'll be able to do that. It's a special honor for me to present here. I've worked for the School Board Association for going on 35 years. I've been working for and trying to be an advocate for school boards around the state. I've got the chance to do that, but Hayes is my hometown. I have family here, and although I did graduate from another high school, in those days I moved back and forth between a lot of schools, and so I've always had a tremendous amount of pride here. And when I set out to do this project that I'll explain, I had no idea what I would find, what districts would be, and so it was very interesting that it turned out to be your district, which was one of those I found. So I also served on a school board myself for 10 years, and I know the last thing you want to hear is anyone who makes the meeting any longer than it has to be. So I will try to go through this pretty quickly, but please, if you have questions along the way, if you're not sure of something, let me know. So if you want to move to the next slide. So what I wanted to do here was, after spending many years as a lobbyist and working on educational issues, KSB let me kind of shift my focus to more around researching issues and trying to write and identify good practices. And last summer, almost a year and a half ago, I wanted to come up with something that would identify important educational outcomes we see on here, try to decide why those are important outcomes to look at, account for differences among districts by the students they serve, identify high-achieving districts, and then interview leaders in those districts to try to say, what are you doing to get results? And of course, as I'll explain how, you were identified as one of those districts. So very quickly, the outcomes I chose, and I guess, I thought listening to one group, you heard about excellence and achievement in one area. This is another set of things. And what I chose to focus on were really the three outcomes that the state of Kansas has said are most important for schools in terms of accreditation and in terms of preparing our students for the future. Just very quickly, they are looking at how districts do on the state assessments that we give in reading and math every year, looking at graduation rate, and looking at post-secondary effective rate, which you probably know, in case you're not clear, is a way of looking at how many students have graduated and had some success in post-secondary education, technical college through an academic program, within 2 years of their graduation. Okay? So the next slide, kind of talk about why these are important. And very quickly, a lot of people will say with state assessments in your life, you're probably never going to be asked how you did on the state assessment, and that's true. But we do know from research that the better students do on state assessments, the more likely they are to do well on these other two factors, graduation, post-secondary effectiveness. Graduation rate's important is because, frankly, most jobs now require a high school diploma, and most post-secondary preparation programs require graduation. The post-secondary effective rate is important because we now know about 70-75% of jobs in the future are likely to require that, and because it has a positive impact on the students economically. So and you certainly can look at these slides. This one, if you can kind of see it, simply goes back to that question of state assessment. As you probably know, kids fall into one of 4 achievement levels. Lowest is level 1, and those are the bars that are on the far left side of that chart, all the way up to level 4. What this simply shows is how students that score at those levels, when we looked at how they did in the past and then went forward, what are your chances of graduating? What are your chances of having post-secondary success? And what this just shows is for each level, the odds increase. Now, there are kids at level 1 who still go on to have post-secondary success. And there are kids at level 4 that don't within that 2-year period. But the odds are increasing. The next slide shows the impact of completing education economically on individuals. So these are Kansas numbers, specifically for residents of Kansas, and what their average earning was in 2022 by education level. So by looking at that, you can see that if you haven't finished high school, your average earnings are the least. Every step you go beyond that, the higher average, and again, lots of exceptions, but as an overall average, this is the point. The next slide looks at that in reverse. It shows poverty rate. And it basically shows that if you have not completed high school or anything more, you have about a 25% chance of being in poverty. So if you have completed a 4-year college degree or more, that drops to about 5%. Then the final chart shows a little bit of what this means for states. Now, this is a little complicated. We'll see whether you remember your scatter graph education, but what this does is plot all the states, on one hand looking at what percent of the population has a 4-year degree or higher. That's on the vertical axis, and the average per capita income. In other words, what's the average earning of people who live in that state? Well, probably no surprise, based on what I just showed you, the more people you have at higher levels of education, the higher your average per capita income. You can see that line shows what you'd expect, and you can see the little red dot, that's the state of Kansas. So the next slide would show us just hypothetically, based on what we would predict from that previous data, if we could increase Kansas's 4-year college completion from 35%, about where we are now, to 39%, we would expect per capita income to increase by about $8,000 per Kansan. With 2.9 million people, that's about $23 billion a year in additional earnings to the state of Kansas. That's obviously good to the people of Kansas, but we also should note that we fund our schools basically out of taxpayers' income. That's how it works. And right now, Kansas K-12 funding equals about 4% of state personal income. So if we follow that same hypothetical, if our school system continued to receive that same percentage at a higher level, it could provide our school system with about $1 billion a year in additional funding, or over $2,000 per individual student. So simply by, if we have the same tax rate, if you will, at higher levels of income, it would generate more funding. So those are kind of the reasons for individuals and for the people of Kansas. These outcomes are also important, as I said, because this is what the state is going to be using pretty exclusively for accreditation. These outcomes align with what the Supreme Court has said is the test of constitutional funding, and we've identified as state goals. And we've looked at data like this in previous school finance litigation. these are some of the key things of why we think this is important. So the next slide kind of shows you just specifically what I looked at. It's looking at the percent of kids that scored at either 2 or higher, which is sort of the basic level of academic competency, or 3 or higher, which is seen as more of a college-ready standard in 2022. The 5-year change in these levels to see what districts are improving. The 2022 graduation rate, the 5-year change, and then finally the 5-year average of that post-secondary effective rate. Okay, it's kind of easy to do that, and it's easy to say, well, who's best on all of those, right? But there's a complication. We know that there are significant differences among students based on factors the school can't control, things like poverty, things like disability. So to try to adjust for that, I also, for every district, took about a 7-year average of the percent of kids eligible for free or reduced lunch, plus the percent of students with disabilities. So the goal was to be trying to kind of compare comparable districts, and then to further note that there are some differences, it appears, and I think people just instinctively say, size also makes a difference. So not comparing Hayes to Victoria, for example, but saying, can we compare you with districts of similar size as well as student characteristics? The result of that was putting districts into 4 enrollment groups. The next slide shows those. This may or may not surprise you. I think some people find it rather striking. Each bar represents one of those 4 enrollment groups. The one farthest to the left there are 7 public school districts and 1 private system that have more than 10,000 students. So just those 8 systems out of almost 300 account for about, if I look closely enough, 180,000 students. The largest group, the group you're in, is from 1,600 students to 10,000. That's bigger in terms of numbers. I think there's about 50 districts in that group, roughly, a little bit more. Then you drop all the way down to the smallest group, districts of under 500, account for 144 systems, but only a very small percentage of students. So the bottom line is, in Kansas, most of our kids are in larger districts. Most of our districts are pretty small, and we try to account for that. By the way, if you look at why there's the little orange bar on those, that represents the number of students in private school systems. So private schools account for about 5% of our public and private. Okay? Hope this is getting fascinating. So now let's get into some specific data. This shows you the first step I took. This just looks at, we're using your enrollment category. So this is the 1,600 to 10,000. Each of those dots is a school district. And this shows you the percent in districts of kids who scored at level 2 or above, right? So in other words, this is your percent for each of those districts, how many kids kind of scored at sort of the minimum level of competency, you might say. We're out of level 1. And as you can see, pretty wide variation. But these are simply arranged in order of their USD number, okay? So in other words, well, why are you going from right to left? That's all it is. What this kind of shows you observed is there's a slight tendency for districts with low USD numbers to have higher results. So you got that working against you, unfortunately, here. Would also note, just for the record, that the 2 little X's at the far right, those are the 2 private school systems, okay? Because private school systems actually do have numbers, and they're higher, okay? So if you look at this, you could say, well, gee, there's about a 50-60% difference between high and low. And you know, you just say, well, what are good school systems and bad school systems? You might just want to look at this. But let's go to the next slide. Because what we've done here is, instead of going by USD order, we go by the percent of those high-need students, that low income plus students with disabilities. And so on the left are the districts with the lowest percentages, moving down to the right where they're higher. And so you can see pretty clearly how much district results are influenced by the students that you have to serve. What I was interested in is saying, so how do we account for that and find not just the people with the best test scores or the highest graduation rate, but those districts that are doing better than we were expecting, okay? So if you move to the next slide, one of the things we found is that if you're looking at static results, like test scores, in every case, there is a very strong negative correlation between your high needs population and how well you do, which is just a way of saying the more kind of higher need, low income disabled students you have, the worse your results tend to be. There is a much greater variation among smaller districts, and if you're looking at change over time, that correlation is not as strong, which basically says getting high results is more difficult if you have more challenging students, but anybody can show improvement over that time. That's not as stacked against you. So the next slide, having done that, having the 5 outcomes identified, I, or rather Excel, calculated a standard deviation for each of those 4 enrollment groups. I then selected districts which are more than one standard deviation higher than predicted, and then I identified districts in each group that were higher in at least 2 outcomes. This ended up giving me roughly 40-some districts, 2 out of the 7 over 10,000, 11 out of 50 in your group, so on. Okay? The next slide, this just is kind of a reminder of what I'm looking at. I don't know if this is the right in order. I've kind of drawn that circle just to show you these are the districts above the line. So some of the districts at the far right of this are lower than all of the districts at the high end. But what I'm looking at is to say, what are the ones that are higher than expected for your size and the students you serve? Okay? So, having done that, I visited each of those districts that would have me. I wrote a profile. I came and sat in this very room, celebrating an early Christmas party, talking to your staff all of one morning about what they were doing. These districts ranged from over 10,000 to under 200, probably less than that. All types of poverty disability rates. We had at least 2, usually more, from each of our 10 geographic regions for KASB. And I guess the one thing, and this kind of gives it all away, no matter what, the similarities I heard were much stronger than the differences based on size, population, everything else. So, just to give you a sense of where you were, your high needs 5 or 7-year-old average was about 58% of your kids fell into that, a little below the state average, not dramatically one way or the other. On the 2022 state assessments, 77.7% of your students were at level 2 or higher. That's over 9% more than expected. 40% were at 3 or higher. That's 8.3% higher than expected. Your 5-year post-secondary effective rate was almost 12% higher than expected. It was, in fact, the 3rd highest in that enrollment group for that area. So you guys actually had a couple of categories where you were among the highest performing for your district. Next slide. So here's what I found, and I've had the opportunity to speak to the state board and others from districts that are really interested in knowing, so of districts that are doing well, what are they doing that they believe got those results? So I don't know if I have to go into a tremendous amount of detail here, because quite frankly, you were doing all of these. I mean, you were one of the ones that was, I think, a very strong representative to hear say of the kind of things we were doing. These are my categories, and what I'm going to share here are just the things that were common in almost every district I visited. And number one, and again, this is one of the things that struck me when I visited here, is what these districts stress is, we think we're getting good results because we have changed or focused on greater intensity or urgency of what we're about. It's not necessarily that these districts are doing dramatically different things, but they are doing them perhaps in different ways with a higher degree of commitment. What I continually heard, again, talking to districts doing among the best in the state, comparatively speaking, is that the status quo is not acceptable. We want to continue getting better and do so by identifying very clear, measurable goals. So, one example I often use is not just we want to raise our reading scores. We want to raise our reading scores at this level by this amount over this period of time. So this is clearly important. The second thing that came out over and over again, very strong what I heard here, is these are districts that increased their use of data and stress they're not afraid of using that data. They accept the validity of these outcomes, but add to it. So these districts do not say, all we do is try to raise our test scores, but they say that's part of all of the goals we've adopted. And to do that, they provide time and staff to look at the data, analyze the data, and use that to make decisions as a result of it. One of the things that a very early meeting I went to that a teacher told me is to say, you know, we all have a tendency to think we're all doing pretty well, right? I mean, our natural tendency is to say, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, but if you don't put your work in an independent context, if you aren't looking how you compare to other districts, how you compare over time, how you compare to state standards, then you don't really know how well you're doing just on yourself. And your district and others have really embraced that. The next set of slides talks about, again, one of the first and strongest things I've heard almost everywhere, certainly here, is these are districts which say what has changed or what is different is their ability to quickly respond when they see students who are struggling and provide more options and services for those students. And I hear that over and over, that that's a big way data is used. So you look more quickly to say, if a student is not getting this math concept at this level, we do something about that student as soon as possible. So all of these districts talk about using some form of, I don't know whether your board talks about MTSS and what that means, kind of a technical education term, but to me, what it really means is just what I've said. You have a plan for all kids, but you have a level of services to respond to the needs of individual students. And what I frequently hear saying, because a lot of districts do that, and what people tend to say is, yes, but maybe they'd be saying what they've changed. We do more to protect that time. We do more to add staff to doing that. We use all of our personnel to make sure kids are getting those results. And that's what seems to set out the difference. I hear that over and over. And what many say is it's harder to do this kind of thing at the high school level because we're so focused on, well, I'm just taking this set of courses and I'm taking, an English course. Presumably, I know how to read. My schedule's full. So you have to find out ways to say, we're going to help find time and ways to help those students. We're going to identify them sooner and not wait until it gets too late in either the school year or in the student's career in high school. Another thing that I heard in my term, and this is one that actually I heard from one of the first principals that I spoke to, is what they call high love and high expectations. A recognition that kids today very much are facing really different set of challenges than certainly I did 40 years ago. We hear that all the time. So all of these districts talk about, we've had to do more with mental health, and we've had to do more to help students with relationships. We had to do more things that are not traditional academics. But what they stress is, we have to do this if we're going to get good academic results, but then we also have to have strong academics and strong expectations for those students. That to simply let the challenges kids have be an excuse is not good for them, is not ultimately going to get better results. And so the idea is we want more services, we want more options, but the child still has to be expected to get to the same point. Not easier routes, just different routes. Okay? And then a phrase that, again, this is kind of what I use that I heard over and over, is the idea if you want kids to be successful, you have to find ways to engage them. And in this debate, we sometimes have how well are our schools doing and better and worse compared to the good old days. I went into this very much prepared to hear successful districts say, we did this because we test harder and we test more and we expect more and we don't have all this other stuff. But these people say, no, that's not what we do. We have to find ways to work to get kids. All we do is stand up and demand that they learn. That doesn't work. You have to find ways to get kids understanding how it helps them and get that involvement. And that's why invariably you hear in terms of a strong priority on relationships across grade levels, among students, with their family, across your entire staff. And those are things I heard very strongly. Your strong outreach to parents, families. Again, couldn't help but think of that when I heard your football coach talking about how important it was for them to have the support of the community. My only guess is the community got something out of that back right. So it is that relationship between the two that is so important. And another thing, certainly that I heard strong here, that all of these districts have talked about is they feel they have laid the foundation by strengthening and being early adopters of preschool programs and early childhood programs. So many of these were saying, we adopted our preschool program 10, 12, 15 years ago, and now we see that happening with our graduation rates, being able to trace students very well. And the final, believe it or not, trait that I will talk about is the role of leadership and collaboration. One thing that I found very clear from these districts is they had high praise for our commissioner, the State Board of Education, and the State Board of Education's Scan Vision, and as I've said, have tended to embrace those outcomes. Many of these were redesigned schools or have adopted things like MTSS, but they also invariably credited their local school board for providing what they would feel is the right kind of leadership. Leadership that has expectations, but then having set those, kind of trust their educators to make it happen, but then come back and says, well, is it really happening? What are we actually seeing there? Invariably high praise, because mostly what I'm doing is talking with administrative teams, superintendents and principals, high praise for their teachers. Every one of them would say, we're here because of the support we have with teachers. But when I did get to talk to teachers, what they would invariably say is, our administration makes a difference. Whether it's the superintendent, whether it's the principal, they say, we feel valued, we feel listened to. We say when we get people to come to our district, they tend to stay in our district because somehow the leadership from the board down through the building, what most would say reflecting the community is that the staff feels valued, and that makes them want to do the job that they're working in. It's interesting because so often when I would, in my past role, when I talk to boards, what are your biggest challenges? I'd invariably hear, well, teacher shortage. These people said, well, we know it's a problem, but frankly, if we can get people to come, they tend not to leave. They're able to hang on to them. So overwhelmingly, what I heard from these districts that have documented reasons for showing they're having high success was they believe at least some of that is under their control. Right? It is not just a matter of, well, we have the kids we have, we're doing the best we can. They're saying, we take the situation we're in, but we have believed that by making choices and doing things different and setting different goals, we can have better results, and that's what we seem to have. So, final quick things, and then if you have questions or time, I'm happy to take them, is I would just note, again, as a product of a private school system here, in part, private school systems tend to perform about where you'd expect for the students they have. They are not dramatically different, certainly not lower, but it falls generally within the range you would expect. Second thing I would note is that many of these districts are relatively close geographically together, which might suggest that cooperation or competition, or whatever you want to call it, might play a role. Also, and this probably isn't very helpful for a larger district like you, but one of the things I heard over and over was many of the smaller districts say their ability to have everyone on a single campus or in a single school or even a single elementary, middle, high school, the fewer sort of divisions or transitions you have to make, the easier it is to get everyone all on the same page. Now, obviously, that's not possible for everyone, but it certainly seems to be something that's helpful. And the last thing I'd note, of course, all districts in the state this year are going through a planning process under the new accreditation system that were really designed to say, how do you get these outcomes? And so what I kind of hoped that this project would do would find some ways that we can share to all districts to say, you might want to think about these things and evaluate yourself based on these things because they're going to fit into what you're ultimately going to be judged on. And as I say, in doing this, my real goal was to find successful programs and traits that others could learn from. So I guess I would end by just congratulating your district. I think you've done that. You've helped kind of contribute to some of the success that I think other districts can learn from. So if that was too fast, I'm about out of breath. So again, I know you got other things to do, but if there's time, I'll defer to you. I'll try to respond to questions if you have any.
Mark, how did you do the Kansas assessments? Was it just high school, and was it all, did you combine the two assessments? Or
It was simply what I was really looking at was the reading and math average of all students in all grades, right? So if you go to the KSD website and look at that data, for each system there is for math and for reading for each, there is a percent at level for all kids all grades. I average those two, so there'd just be one number. I could, and as if I do this again, you can look at that in different ways. So you could look at just particular grades or particular students. I didn't for this process. So, and that does create a tiny bit of a problem because there are some systems, both public and private, that don't have high schools. And so there were a few that didn't have data for some of these where they might be affected by that. But that's the number I use.
So to get that relation, you came up with what do you expected that with the number of free and reduced,
Yes.
because it's so much different, but you didn't look at free and reduced.
No, this was
all kids.
right. Could have done it either way. Could have just said somehow. I'm sure could have looked at, well, how do districts do differently with different populations? That certainly would be a look at it. I guess what I was trying to do is say, if we're looking at districts, you want to maybe compare similarly situated districts. I can tell you that generally speaking, districts with fewer high-need students, in those districts, even the lower income or disabled students tend to do better. But my guess for that is you have kind of a different set of models, you have a kind of a different set of resources. In many cases, you might have stronger parent and community support overall. So the way I did it was, in fact, just looking at trying to calculate what would be expected at each point on that line for the students that you have, what you would expect your result to be based on the results of all districts.
Thank you for coming.
Clearly, you put a ton of work into this. This is excellent. I just wanted to double check. Your data comes from literally every single Kansas district?
Yes.
So you truly worked with the population here, not a sample. That I don't even know how long that must have taken. So kudos to you. Would it be safe to assume that from this data we can say that there is a strong correlation between not only engagement from the community in student success, but also the amount of money that put in, the impact to higher education on income? So like if the community is putting in more to their education, that the turnaround would be that more is put into the community?
So I don't know how direct this particular data would be. This data would suggest if you're doing these things, you are likely to get better results. If you're getting better results, you are likely to have parents in a better economic situation. The one thing you have to account for, though, is not all of your kids are going to stay here, and you're going to get kids who weren't educated here moving in. So it's very hard to do as you come down to a local level, it's probably a little harder. But I think what it would say is if your community, its economy, what its parent wants are going to need and be able to benefit from a higher educated population, then these are the things you would do to move more kids to success along that line.
Thanks.
If that's all, that reminds me of one other thing I wanted to share, because if you're interested in this data, and I'm trying to follow that football team for you.
I love the data. It's okay. I love the data.
I want to share an interesting, though you may have heard of this. There is a national study coming out of Harvard University that went back and looked at sort of economic mobility going back decades by looking at things like zip codes and tax reform and all of that. And these professors calculated a way to say what communities over literally 40 or 50 years had sort of the best upward mobility, right? Who were advancing and who was stagnating. And when I ran across this, there was a little box where you could like put in a zip code or something like, because it went down to that level. You talk about massive, I don't know. So I put in Ellis County because that's where I was from, and I was told that Ellis County is in the 95th percentile in terms of, I guess, the right results. So in a way, that maybe so wasn't shocking with some of the data out there, but again, so there clearly has been something in this community over time that contributes to that. Probably the presence of the university, and many things were part of it, a strong, strong educational tradition, and frankly, some competition within the system over that time has done this. So I just thought that's an interesting, I couldn't explain exactly what they did, but I was kind of proud when I saw that and just told them I wasn't letting them down as a result of where I was in all of this. But anyway, I think your district has a lot to be proud of, your community has a lot to be proud of, and happy to be able to share this. So if there is any follow-up, I've told some people maybe my Christmas present for myself would be to try to update all of this with 2024 test data and see if there have been any changes, because it has shown some interest. But really just congratulations to you and thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, that was a great follow-up. I'm so excited. That was excellent.
It was really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. No.
Okay, Hayes, wait a minute. Building Administrator, you got anything to share? Now's your time. Step up, don't be shy, be quick.
You don't have Tom
That's
here.
hard to follow, and we only get a minute, so. I have 4 things. First, I wanted to recognize some of our volunteers at Wilson. We have a foster grandparent, Grandma Debbie Carlson, and she was just recognized for serving for 5 years, so she's starting her 6th year of service in kindergarten, no less. Also in kindergarten, Paula Martin volunteers, and Marilyn Davidson comes to Wilson every single day. She's a retired teacher to tutor kids in reading. And she's done some enrichment this year, but we just love having our retired teachers and their expertise come back, and she does it for free, which is equally as amazing. So I just thank you to all of them for their service. Today was our PD day, and so just if you ever wonder what we do on PD days, there's a lot that happens. But one of the things that Wilson always does, we review our action plan, and we're a little unique. We chose math this time based on our data, and specifically the standard that relates to numbers and operations in base 10, because that is the lowest, and we felt like we needed to hone in on what we could best impact. So recently, related to that, we have, each grade level has created their own formative assessment to help see how we're doing on that standard, and we have a building-wide intervention that's called Facts on Fire to help build fluency. Specifically, if you remember Mad Minutes, looks a little like that, but with much more research behind how the problems are designed. It's a researcher, professor out of Oklahoma State University. So we're really excited to kind of pilot that and see how that goes and see if it will impact our fact fluency, because our baseline data from our 2 pilot grades show that only about 1/3 of our students are where they need to be. And when you think about the cognitive load that they need to apply the fact fluency as they're learning new skills and concepts, we need them to be automatic in that, and they're not there yet. So we'll see how that goes, and we're hoping that impacts our action plan. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'll share, there are lots of community partnerships that are going on that support us. Just this week, all 4th graders in the district are going to a Hayes Arts Council sponsored play at Fort Hays State through the Encore series. Fort Hays, all K through 8 students, also except for Roosevelt because they were moving, went to the basketball game right before Thanksgiving. And if you were there, it's a really fun energy. And I know the team fed off of it because they were dunking. The kids were so excited. We've also had lots of teams come visit, including Fort Hays softball came to 1st grade at Wilson. Hays High football came. Hays High teaching as a career has been there. Newton basketball, and I'm sure I'm missing some other teams that have come to help support our students and interact and build positive relationships. And finally, we have some upcoming events that we're really excited about. I mentioned the last time, Dennis Matthew is coming, sponsored by the USD 49 Foundation for all K through 2 students across the district, and every student will receive a book to go home, bellow the cello. At Wilson, we have a canned food drive coming. And finally, Mrs. Gross would like to share that the Snowflake Festival is coming up, and she assures me that parents love it. So, there you go.
3 zeros.
I kind of enjoy the Hayes Way Minute just because I get to hear what's happening in all the other buildings. It gives me ideas. Renee Burns, O'Loughlin, and I would like to highlight our 3rd grade teachers and students. Part of our history standards for third grade is learning about our local history. And so instead of learning from a textbook, they spend a few weeks learning about Walker Air Base. You guys might learn something. Chestnut Street, Martin Howland, Fort Fletcher, Rome. Did you know that we have a Rome? It's right behind O'Laughlin, so they walk there and learn all about it. Pete Felton, the Fort Hays Teacher College, and then our very own Catherine O'Laughlin McCarthy. They go downtown for the historic markers, and they even make a stop at Boot Hill. I think what the kids enjoy most is the Main Street serves, where they get snowballs after their Boot Hill visit. And then it's just, I taught that in 2nd and 3rd grade. It's one of my all-time favorites. And so it's really kind of interesting because it's more meaningful to them rather than a textbook. And then I also wanted to celebrate our ambassadors. Our ambassadors are our leadership group, our 5th grade leadership group, and they are finishing up this week with our kindness drive, and that includes all of our students bringing in the canned good items or non-perishable items, and then those are dispersed in the final week before Christmas break to support our families in need for this holiday season.
Hi, good evening. I'm Donna Hudson-Hamilton, Director of Early Childhood Services. And I did want to thank the board members, Kurt, Jamie, Megan, and Ken, that came out and read for Kansas Reads to Preschoolers Month. I hope you enjoyed it as much as the kids did, because they love to have people come read to them. And I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of our community partners that are helping our families during this Christmas and winter season. Teaming Up for Tots has donated $50 Dillon gift cards. Crosspoint Church is shopping for 22 of our parents and children. Hayes Hair Academy is shopping for some of our children. Women Who Lead have donated money for coats, hats, and mittens. Fred and Lois Britton have donated coats, hats, and mittens. And JC Puddings has donated gloves. So I just want to give a shout out to all our community partners.
Thank you.
I want to say to you, I can't believe we're going to lose you. You have been an asset to this district, and you are going to be missed. So thank you for all your
Retirement card. And Cameron, right? Did I get it right? Yes, I just got the most beautiful card from them just a few minutes ago. So made my day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Carrie Lacey, Lincoln, following them, they've already taken some of mine because of some of the things that are happening with our, going to the Encore series. Dave Matthews coming to visit and share with our students as an author. Again, community partnerships. I think that's one thing that we can all be very proud of in every school. They all talked about that. 1st grade, our community partnership with Kansas Highway Patrol. They went out, they made decorations for their Christmas tree last week. They went out Friday, visited, and they were so excited because Santa was there. Also, they had refreshments for them, and they all came back with a Highway Patrolman hat. So that was really cool for our 1st graders. Our kindergartners, I wish that everyone could come and visit on this day when they make individual pumpkin pies. Kindergartners in both classes, and it's so funny, but it's amazing, and they're so proud. So kudos to our teachers for that. Today was a great day of collaboration. We're getting ready to join with Roosevelt, so we took the afternoon today. We took about an hour and 20 minutes first, just as a whole group. We had questions from both staff. It was really, really enlightening for me. First of all, I laid down some ground rules because all of us need those, but it was so energizing to hear the collaboration and the excitement about, if there's things that need to be changed, now's the time to do it. And how we handle our, celebrations and how they handle their celebrations. What's right, what's wrong? There is no right or wrong. And we're going to come into an agreement together and talking about, why we changed some of the things that we changed at Lincoln because of the makeup of our students and our needy families. And I'm excited for the bigger diversity that Roosevelt will have, the amount of diversity, because you learn from each other, and I'm really excited about that. They also invited us today, December 17th. They're going caroling at the mall, and they're inviting Lincoln staff and families. So with all the Roosevelt staff and families, if you decide on December 17th you're coming to the mall, you come to listen because there won't be room to shop. Yeah. Community support for our students, someone had already mentioned that. The Fort Hays Catholic Community Center, they every year adopt Lincoln School, and they do a Christmas tree, angel tree. Every year they have increased. They started with 20 students, and they do every student in a family. So if I have a family that I feel like they need support, I send out an email to the parents, and if they want, yes. If they don't, that's okay. And this year they offered 50 families, which is just amazing. And what they do with that, they take the angel tree, they gather all the gifts. I have the number of students that match up with the gifts. And then I call the parents and say, hey, your Christmas presents are here. They provide wrapping paper. They provide the tape, all of that good stuff. And I say they're here. One thing that I will not allow them to do is come and take them when their kids are with them. Because the point of this is to give to your students as if you're giving to your students. And so that's a really cool thing. And each year I go and I talk with them at a mass, and I just tell them, how enlightening that is and how exciting that is. And so it's really cool. And I hope that they stay involved somehow when Lincoln's not Lincoln. Then the last thing I want to do is I want to commend a couple of teachers that are on your list tonight. Jolene Goodston, you won't find a bigger Chiefs fan, and that's what she says she's doing. She won't have to take days off to attend the Sunday night football games. We are going to really, really lose an incredible kindergarten teacher. Kindergarten is the hardest, I think, to teach, and she's amazing. And so we're going to lose her. Daphne Brown is also on your list. There is not a more caring person. I can attest for that. She's amazing. And so if you get to a point or get out to see them, shake their hand, give them a hug, tell them thank you, because they are a big part of our district that we're going to use. Thank you.
So from Hayes High, we have Intro to Health Careers class. It's heading to a hospital later this week in Great Bend to do some practical hands-on things. We're proud of Coach Crow back here. I thought that was amazing, and to add more coaches to it tonight that I didn't even know that happened. That's great. We start our meetings on these collab days with shout-outs, and I think it's interesting that our staff wanted to shout out our band, just because he's talking about road warriors. They were serious road warriors, including the rain and all those things. So somebody wanted to say that, and so I said, sure, we will make that note tonight. Stuco, FCCLA, and JAG-K have been working together on a food drive, and they have 90 meals that feed 4 people each meal. So there's a lot coming in and going out, which is really great. I wanted to shout out Vance Cranwitter and Tammy Ruddy in the athletics office, who put on a great Hayes City shootout. If you were able to attend in any way, it is such a neat event, brings so much to Hayes. This year it's even more fun when the boys and girls are playing in the championship, and the girls were the champions, which is really neat. 22 years, yeah. They're very fun to watch. 22 years was the last time that we won that, and Matt Brooks is on the coaching staff both times. So
Both times?
And give him a shout out, 22 years apart. So that's pretty neat. Nicole Winter won the Teachers Turn the Key Award for the Kansas Association of Agriculture Educators, and then got to go to San Antonio for that honor, and so that was this last week, which is neat. And then to continue the theme that has been all night, we had 30 business partners at our high school today for the CTE committee that talks about all of those really future and opportunities for students, which is really neat. I also wanted to say I always appreciate Naples that I give Brett a call, but we are to the point that I have given a tour, which I love, by the way. I've given a tour to all but basically less than 10 of our teachers. They've all got to walk the site and see what it looks like and all that. The people that I haven't been able to take, have been coaching, which is wonderful. We've already talked about that tonight, so I'll get the rest of them through. And we'll get the rest of them through, and then we've taken everybody over. It makes those plans come to life, so it's exciting. So that's ASI. Thank you.
Can I make some comments, Ron? First of all, the Fort Hays basketball game, I've heard tons of comments in the community about how great that is for the kids and how many kids never get to attend that. So kudos to Fort Hays and that partnership that we have with them, because the kids love it. The second thing is, all of you mentioned the food drives that you're having. So I'm a part of Women Who Lead, who is big on food deficiency in our community. So the kids stepping up. I know my daughters come home, Mom, I need this, we need this, we need this, because we're putting together, food packages. Just to teaching our kids to step up, help those in need is so cool. And I'm so proud of all of you for encouraging it and inspiring it. So I just wanted to say thank you for all those people that need it, especially this time of year. Thank you to all of you.
I do have a recording of the national anthem, which is my favorite part of the basketball game, because Hammocky goes out, introduces, and then he starts it, and the whole gymnasium of 3,500 or 4,000 students, however many were there in other communities, kids singing the national anthem. And if you want some goosebumps, that is an incredible experience. So yeah.
You should email that to us. We would love that.
Absolutely,
please do.
Absolutely. You know what else is cool watching the Hay City Shootout, like Sean said, because I was there, how many kids are not on their cell phones. They're actually watching the basketball game. Very cool. Very cool.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck following all that.
There you go.
It gets tougher and tougher.
Yep.
Just some things to share with you. Just an update, Lincoln Elementary, the contract, Bill and I met with Michael Graham of Turnkey Properties, I believe it was a week ago, I think, and we worked through that. Bill is currently putting the contract together. Once he gets it together, we'll bring it back to you guys at the January 20th meeting for your approval, and then that just starts the whole process where we will notify the Kansas legislature in that 45-day window, and we are looking right now at a closing date of October 1. So just an update there. We are also looking, as I filled you in last meeting, just board docs will be going away at some point, so we did look at a new platform, which is still with the same company who owns Board Docs, but they have their own product called Diligent Community. What we found was it was very comparable, and it also has some upgrades that we feel like are really would be good upgrades for us. So also there are some live streaming video options that we're considering, and would give us some flexibility on some other things. So just wanted to keep the board updated where we're at with that. Also, just would like to talk a little bit about the CareerX roundtables that are coming up here December 18th and 19th at Hayes High. Just inviting the board members or also any community people who would like to attend. I've included a link in your board packet. I will tell you, this will be the second year we did this. It's one of the coolest things you'll experience, and I would encourage you as a board member to go see these young people talk about their CareerX experiences, but also what you get to see is just the whole culmination of their educational experience just kind of coming together. It's really cool. It's really cool. They're all sitting at tables with their, they've put together a presentation, and it usually just takes a couple minutes to go through. They kind of share a little bit about what they have been doing. You can ask some questions, you move on to the next person. So it'll last about an hour. There's different times throughout the day, so feel free if you're interested. I've included I know Anita talked a little bit about the professional development that occurred today, and I think Carrie did too. These are just kind of an overview of what went on today at all buildings. The screen time recommendations. The state board will act on those recommendations tomorrow. I've included them again in your agenda so you can look at them. I assume my assumption is that they'll probably approve those recommendations, and they will only be recommendations, and then it becomes local boards to decide what they want to do with them. Our intent will be to talk about this at our March work study session. That'll give us time for building administrators to review the recommendations, as also get some feedback from building leadership teams, students, and site councils with parents, and just about how that any or all of those impacts of those recommendations would have on our schools. Also want to remind the board that Hayes Virtual graduation is tomorrow at 6 p.m. here at 12th Street Auditorium. It's always a neat thing. The bond update, just real quickly, I just want to talk a little bit about the ribbon cutting ceremony at Roosevelt. It was really neat. It was a very positive thing. I think everyone in the community was very excited to see what had been done at Roosevelt, and it was overwhelmingly a positive experience, and appreciate all of you being there. So with that, I got the real guys who are going to give a bond update. So Dylan Weddle and Brett Stevens from Naples are here.
Sir, could you talk in the mic, please, so people can hear? Thank you.
We're all old and deaf.
Sorry.
Ouch.
As far as thank you folks, we'll go back a little bit. We'll be starting some enabling work there over Christmas break while you guys are obtaining that. Then we'll go back roughly in January. In January, we'll start on clearing and setting up some of our grading going in, so we'll start our road approaches and stuff like that. Besides that, there'll be some site fencing going in, as you can see there with the drawings. So we'll start working with that, and mainly just trying to get set up for actually breaking ground on the new additions, as that will be the main part we start at. We'll start with the interior coming up next summer. It's kind of where we're laying out the walls right now.
Yeah, so schedule-wise, it looks exactly like it did last time. We're still looking at it in August of 2026. So the reason for that is there's multiple phases that are interior, and most of those have to happen over the summer. So the additions won't take that entire time, but the addition or the renovation portion will turn over that final summer.
So a quick question on Loveland. Will that affect Hall Street at all?
We've tried to mitigate that as much as possible. We'll start that new entrance on the south side as early as possible and have most of the construction traffic come off of that to minimize the impact on Hall Street.
Yeah, there'll be a very small amount there. We'll just do it high and low lanes out there. Actually, all you guys are still super. You guys are probably yeah. As far as high school goes, so we're going to do an update on that. As you guys can see, I don't know who all's been out there, but we do have a softball field installed, so it gives you a nice overview. Then you can actually see the building there on the right. You can see there on the left, that's area F and G, so that's your auxiliary gym and your main gym. We're still under construction steel right now. We should be doing the top out here pretty quick. We'll be getting another crane back in this week, actually, to go ahead and do the doors that go across. So that'll finish up for the next edition. This is the Performing Arts Center, so we actually just poured that slope slab 2 weeks ago. We'll be finishing out where the other individuals are standing on the right, actually tomorrow morning. So moving good on that. There's a mezzanine that's shown on the right, so that's above the front of the stage and hall area, so that actually be looking down in towards the stage area. As you can see, we've actually got the wall panels on. I don't know if all you guys have actually got to see that yet. So that was very exciting to get moving forward with the building envelope. So we're area A and B are very close to being wrapped up. I'd say we're about 90% on that wall panels. Glass and glazing, so the windows there are actually all fully installed at this point for area A and B. And then we've got the servery, so some of the finished work
So schedule-wise, some of this has changed since last time. Some of the areas might have moved a little bit further on the finish date, but it's really just kind of moving items around. The overall finish date is still showing as 8/13/25, so the end of next summer. There are some things built into that. We do have a little bit of time built in there for move-in. And it might have to be to where it's kind of phased as we complete the building, but it's by no means going to be something where it's a week or two notice and then they have to move in. So we kind of built that into the schedule as we go, but overall, no big issues. The weather so far this winter hasn't hurt us too terribly bad. We've had 2 weather days since November.
It's been good. It's been good.
So we're optimistic on that front. We do still have some weather days built into the schedule to anticipate for later in the winter, but right now it's looking really good.
You said 8/13?
Correct. Any questions on the Laughlin or the high school as far as schedule or progress goes?
Can we get a copy of your presentation?
Absolutely.
It's in your packet. Yeah.
Where's it at?
I don't think so. Yeah, it's not in there. I think it's not
It's
attached.
under superintendent's report.
No, that one doesn't have everything in it.
No,
Oh, it
there
does.
isn't
It just has
anything.
on the ribbon.
Has your regular 2-pager.
Okay, yeah, we can update.
Thank you.
So we have a budget update as well. This kind of ties in with the PCCOs that we're talking about as well. So the original budget is in that original column. The 617 update was the last time that we talked about a PCCO for the high school. No, that's small, I'm sorry.
Is that the only place it is? We don't have that either. Okay.
We can send it to you. So PCCO 1 was on 617 and it was for 81,565, which was mostly design clarifications. And then the 2 that we're talking about this evening are PCCO 2 and 03. PCCO 2 is 250,000 and PCCO 3 is 248,000. PCCO 2 is design clarifications, very similar to what was included in 01. Mainly changes to structural, any finishes that were noticed late in the game that need to be changed. It's that sort of thing, and it's all detailed in that PCCO. And then PCCO 3 is for PR2, which is a document change that changed some of the finishes and layout around the softball field. So it changed the softball field dugouts from being chain link to being blocks, split-face block actually, to match the concession stand that'll be next to it. So it'll be very similar to what the current baseball field looks like. And then it also added areas in the bullpen and the batting cages, an extra lane in both of those. And then it also had provisions for a grandstand and press box at some point with data and electric, a pad around the outside of it so that it's as easy as plugging it in there. All that basically.
So I do have some questions on the change order. Not specifically.
We're not on that.
Whoa. Let's wait till we get there.
Why are we talking about that?
They're just talking about it. We're not there yet.
Just talking about how it tied into the budget.
Yeah, okay.
So as you can see at the bottom there, the total overall does not change with those 2 new PCCOs. That would be funded out of owner's contingency. So it would add to the overall contract value for the high school, but the budget itself, money set aside for that specific project does not change. It will not affect any of the future bond projects. This is a look at the overall bond program budget. The only thing that's changed on here since last time is that case high column, and it's just showing the owner's contingency there at the bottom reducing, and the number at the top added. But overall, all the way to the right, it's the exact same number as it was.
I'm sorry, I can't read it. What is it reducing to? What is the
Owner's contingency would be reduced to $481,590.
Is it 481,590?
It's on that next.
That's in your information.
That's it.
And I just loaded the presentation. I guess I didn't have my glasses. Bond update, board update, were 2 quotes. I got the wrong one. It's in there now. If you need, you probably have to. So,
Refresh.
Any budget questions?
I'll let them read it.
Now, you're both going to be here when we start with the next item, right? Or take a day's question.
Any more questions? Oh, wait. We good to move on? Or you just want a few more minutes?
I think it's fine.
So are we, are we good for, are we done with superintendent's report?
Yep.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Mr. Wilson about his report before we move on? Okay, seeing none. Number 6, action discussion item, 6.1, Hayes High change order approvals.
Take it away, Dylan. You're already halfway into it.
Yep, so the update that I was just giving you on PCC 02 and 03, I might have jumped the gun a little bit, but that's the main background to it. If you have any further questions, I'd be happy to.
Okay. Hi. I have page questions. I had to do a lot of research because I am not super familiar with this, so roll with me a little bit. My questions are specifically on PCC 02. Is that how you say it? Sounds great. There's a lot of like acronyms. The ones I want to talk about specifically are the ASI. So there's ASI 19, 23, 25, 24, and 26. Does ASI stand for Architectural Supplement Info?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, what was the info requested that caused the change order?
So the majority of them were RFI responses. RFI is request for information. Anytime we have a question about what's in the drawings, we send that to DLR for them to answer, and it might be their structural engineer, the mechanical engineer, the civil engineer actually answering the question, but they'll give us a response, and sometimes if it requires a drawing revision, like actually changing the plan sheet from the original document, they'll issue it as an ASI.
Okay. So who specifically requested these ASI changes?
I mean, we've had, I think, over 300 RFIs.
Okay.
So anytime we see something, we'll send that to them, and that's what would trigger them to issue it ASI.
Okay, so these items specifically, what were the items?
In which ASI?
Any of them? 19, 23, 25, 24, and
So
26?
we put a summary at the top that kind of gives a brief overview of what's included in it, but it doesn't necessarily reference the RFI or anything that might cause that ASI, because there's multiple that would be tied into it.
So my concern is, why were the original drawings lacking these details?
There's some things that you're only going to find once you start trying to build the building. We do a constructability review before we start anything, and it's part of the pre-con phase of it. And what that does is we look at how we can actually build what's drawn.
Okay.
And some of those things you don't find until you get along down the road and you have subcontractor partners looking at it with you. And that's when we might find issues or realize that ceiling height is not obtainable, we have to drop it, or you have to add additional reinforcing steel into this.
So I completely understand that as you get into a project, things need to change and you have to adjust, but this is a building like made from scratch. Wouldn't that all kind of be laid out like making changes to a school like Roosevelt? There are things that come up that like we didn't know that was in there. That makes total sense. But this is like, y'all are drawing this from nothing. So I'm kind of confused as to why there's surprises that are being found. Is it a lack of communication between architectures and engineers? Is it a lack of collaboration? What's going on?
No, I don't think so. I mean, anytime you have a drawing set that's as big as this one, it's over 1,000 pages, not including the additional pages with these ASIs. You're going to have some items that just get missed.
So
there's no way around it.
wouldn't these changes be included in our initial architectural fee that we paid?
So the reason that we hold an owner's contingency and don't split it out to an owner design contingency, because there is an option for you to do that, and have a separate design contingency to field some of these issues, is because it gives you more flexibility. If we didn't use all of that, you could use it as owner's contingency, but I think you kind of have to look at the owner's contingency pot as owner and design contingency.
Because it adds up to approximately $109,000. No, just on the ASIs.
Oh, yeah.
And you're asking us to foot that bill out of that contingency fund.
And that was the reason we held that amount for contingency.
I understand that, but we're still gonna we're gonna remove 109 for these fees or services.
Yeah,
Correct.
None of them are tied to actual design fees. They're just items that need to happen in the field, and all of it is tied to subcontracting.
But we're still getting billed for, like ASI 026 is $47,000.
I'm just concerned, I feel like this is an oversight on the architectural side, and I'm just curious as to why, like our architect was DLR, correct? I'm curious why they're not put in the bill.
So like I was saying with contingencies, that contingency amount that we came up with of $1 million for owner's contingency was based off of knowing that that is going to cover owner and design items. Along with that, it's not out of the norm for where we're at in the project to have this many small design adjustments that need to happen, or coordination between trades that might have cost additional money.
I understand, but do they have any skin in the game? I mean, it's not costing them another $1. Okay.
Don't you have contingencies built in for things that come up?
Correct, we have a construction contingency, yes.
And so what do you point was to use ours or yours? That's what I understand.
Well, anything that's a legitimate design change would be considered a design/owner's contingency. Anything that could have been foreseen by us being Naples, we cover in our contingency.
I saw something in here that refers to, I think it was concrete, it wasn't in the plans, so it was left out. So how is that the owner's responsibility when we pay the architect to do that?
Like I was saying, there's some things that you're just not, you're going to miss some things whenever you're putting that drawing set together.
And so that should be in your contingency, correct?
It's a legitimate design change. It wasn't there before, and now it is.
So aren't you guys the construction managers at risk?
Correct.
So if we're eating everything, where's your risk?
We cover everything that's in the drawing. So if there's something in the drawing that we missed, then we take care of the drawings or specifications, any construction documents. If there's something in there that we missed or we could have planned better for, or we could have had contingency set aside for, then we cover those. That is our at-risk provision.
So my concern is, I mean, I'm a math teacher. We hired you because I look at plans and I don't know what the crap they mean. So like, we hired you to take on that responsibility, and this is a lot that's missing. I'm kind of upset by it. Like, and I fully support this bond. I understand, like I do. This is just a lot to have missing. And usually when it comes to a change order, like I get it, I really do, but I'm really concerned by the number of ASI, considering that it wasn't like, oh shoot, like this isn't working anymore. This was just missed.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's not out of the norm for every project, but we do have this amount of design changes that are necessary before the end of the project.
My next question has to deal with Area D storefront color changes, $8,000 color change. What was spec'd for that?
So it was spec'd as a, might get it mixed up. One of them was dark bronze and one of them was just an anodized finish.
Where's that at?
It's on the same one.
It's on high school.
It's on the.
I saw that $9,000.
It's on the backside of the Performing Arts Center.
The backside, okay. So who authorized that change? Was it not in the plan to paint the wall?
It's talking about the storefront, not the wall itself, and the color of the storefront. So the two main colors of storefront would be a dark bronze or anodized aluminum. One's like a silver color, one of them's almost black. So the connection point from the exterior, which is mostly dark bronze, to where the interior storefront matches it, had both of those coming together at an odd point with no demarcation between them. And so the architect decided that we needed to change that so that it matched all the way around the building. It would be very noticeable if you did.
Right. So that was an architectural request, not an owner request. So again, I mean, I don't think we should pay for that. Like, what was spec, what was quoted, what was agreed upon, that's really concerning to me. Like, again, I understand, I do. That's really frustrating. What about RFI 209, the bent plate modifications, that 36.5?
Yeah, so the bend plate modifications for there's a firewall between areas A and B and also area D and E. On the first floor and the second floor, it goes all the way up between the two, and it's made out of CMU block. Originally...
Dylan, that was the first thing that went up, right? Wasn't that was one of those first things that was up?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
So the steel that gets erected afterwards has a bend plate that connects to that wall to make it tie together structurally from one side to the other. So A and B are completely separate buildings, but they're tied into that CMU wall on one side. That's the same thing for D and E. Originally, that was shown as a welded connection, but after working with the structural engineer and working with the structural steel supplier, they determined that it needed to be a slip connection. So basically, get rid of the weld, put a bolt hole in there with a slot, and then bolt the two together so that it could move based off of their design.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you the same question. Why wasn't that determined originally?
I mean, it's really just a design clarification that I guess you could say could have been caught from the beginning, but you're not going to catch all of them. I mean, there's a million or two decisions that have to go into making that full plan set of over 1,000 pages, 10,000 pages of specifications. To say that you're not going to miss something here and there is, I don't think, a likely goal.
So have any of these been found because of recent inspections or anything like that? No.
Normally, they're us looking at the plans and finding something that might be inconsistent or we don't understand how it needed to go together. But none of them, as far as I know, have been inspections from the state or the city.
Okay, so other than the paint part of it and those type of things, those needing to be done or the change order taking place, would it pass inspection if those weren't done?
Some of them, not all of them. For instance, like the bend plate, that one has to happen. If not, eventually the steel holding one side and the steel on the other is going to wreck itself.
You're going to crack walls and...
So some of this work has already been done?
Yes.
So you do the work before we approve it?
Not generally, but it is a fast-paced project and things need to keep on moving. So some of these we only learn of, a couple of days before you make a decision that we're going to move forward or not. And
Some of these are months, and we've had meetings. We've had several meetings between us, so we could have acted on if we knew about it. Like this one that says the change reason was planned error.
Yeah.
Which one are you referencing?
I'm looking at one of the concrete ones. I haven't looked at all of them. I just got 50 pages of items here. This is just one planned error. That's what's listed on there. So.
What about Area C steel revisions, the Area C steel lintel dimensions, the duct and steel revisions, the condensation plate lines? Are all those the same thing?
No.
Okay.
No, the Area C steel revisions, there's a couple of items in there. One of them is the duct sizing that needs to go through the bar joist in that Area C, the curved area. Conflicted with the steel reinforcements necessary to hold that second floor catwalk up. So they had to upsize the joist to go across there for it to fit through. And that's something that you don't always get the final dimension of your HVAC duct that needs to go through there until after you have a mechanical engineer from the subcontractor side put that all together with airflows on units and everything else. They're going just for standard equipment. The other one is for the radius. There's a lintel basically that comes down, hangs down from the top of the parapet, and that supports the windows that are across there. It's a very tricky dimension coming off that radius. Basically, we pick a point that's more or less out in the middle of your football field, and it's 200 and something that was provided didn't make that radius work perfectly. It didn't match the concrete and the second floor bed plate that is the edge stop of your slab all the way across there. So we had to cut that off, change that dimension, and add some more steel to support the windows that are going to go across there.
It sounds like a lot of this change order, just on O2, I understand that PCC 03 was a lot of owner changing, and I understand that. So I'm only talking about PCC 02. It sounds like a lot of the issues from this are coming from balls getting dropped, initial missed inspections or missed decisions. Inspections, not so much, that was the wrong word. Missed decisions. I know a lot of this stuff has to change and has already changed, and I also understand why that happens. I just don't think we should foot the bill for the whole thing. I'm going to say it again. We hired you to be our manager at risk. We already paid an architectural fee, and that fee has some contingency built into it. I think at the very least, this specific change order needs to be split. I do not think that the district should foot the entire bill, especially since we don't even have enough money left to do everything else that we want to in this district. We don't have enough money to get equipment and things to supply our classrooms for. We have paid Napolds millions of dollars, millions and millions and millions of dollars, and I think $200,000 is too much for this change order, and I don't agree with it, and that's just me. I understand, but I'm not happy.
I guess you think DLR should be like a meeting like this?
I do think DLR should be present to talk about it as well, because they had a large hand. They are the architects, and I think they should answer their questions as well. I don't think it's all on you. I don't think it's on us. I think we should have had a project manager, but here we are, because there's no way I can look at this and understand everything. The amount of Google and questions that I had to ask was unreal. So I do want to go ahead and make a motion to split these change order approvals, PCC 02 and PCC 03, because they are very different. 03 is only the softball field, and that was all owner request, which is us, which I think we should foot the bill for. And we can talk about that, that's fine, but I do not want to vote PCC 02 at this time.
Well, I don't think we've made a motion yet.
Yeah,
That's a discussion. Anybody else have, does anybody else have questions for these two gentlemen dealing with O2? Okay, I have just a broad question. Okay, this is 01, 02, 03. Are we going to expect, before we're done, there's going to be an 04, going to be an 05?
It's definitely possible. I think at this point it would mostly be owner changes that would affect that. I would say that we've found the majority of design clarifications that may come up. Most of those happen earlier on in the structural portion of it and less of the finishes. But I think contingency-wise, if you look at a remaining of $481,000, both of these BCCOs are approved. We're over 55% complete. That's kind of what we use to judge it. And I would say it's pretty a comfortable spot.
I don't know. I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
The other buildings that we are working on are all renovations. There's no new building, new construction happening, and that's where you find the very expensive things that you've got to mess with and redesign because of the way they're going to fit up against a building that's there. I'm not comfortable with having half the contingency for 5 more buildings.
That's just
how many?
But this contingency is just for Hayes. This is just Hayes High.
Before, we talked about having this roll over to the next project. And
You don't have to spend your contingency.
Right,
Yes.
roll it over to the next project, and that.
But there was this 900 or.
Was there a 900,000 in there?
Yeah, it was built into just the Hayes High project.
There's $1 million contingency just for the Hayes High.
Yeah.
How much does this leave us for the rest of the building?
$481,590.
Yeah, that's specifically for Hayes High.
Just for
Just for Hayes High, yeah.
At Roosevelt, how much did we?
Because they'll have their separate ones.
Yeah. But one change order, did we have any change orders at Roosevelt?
We had like one, and it was very minimal.
That was for the allotment trailers. to house students in the hall.
Right,
So
that's it. It was just that we needed more space for longer.
A contingency for Roosevelt was built into our overall contract value. So a good portion of that contingency was spent, but it was not added to our contract value after, so it didn't require a PCC note basically. But that $1 million contingency for the high school is only for the high school. The other projects have separate contingencies set aside for them. And I think an important thing to look at too is the scale of the high school project. If you're looking at a $10 million project and you have an issue, it might only be a $10,000 issue. Whereas if you're looking at the high school, which is over $100 million, that turns into a $30,000 or $40,000 issue very quickly just based on the scale of the project.
Is it possible to get DLR here at the next meeting? Okay. So can I make the motion?
Oh, no. Is there any more questions? Yeah, you can. Let me finish. Is there any more questions for these gentlemen about O2 before we go down that road?
You were going to say something.
I was.
So we're going to go to 03 then?
O2 is what we're talking about now.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about O2? Mr. Park?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm entertaining, Jamie.
I just want a motion to table PCCO2 until the next meeting, at which time we can talk with DLR. And hopefully, I hope you guys come back. Like, I hope you know that I'm not like coming for blood here. I have a lot of questions. So I hope that we can all be here the next meeting. Table that.
So a motion has been made to divide these. PCCO2 is going to be tabled till the next board meeting.
Board meeting's not until January 20th, correct? I mean, it's
Okay.
ways away. That's the only other thing I'd say.
Unless we, okay.
I didn't mean to.
I understand. So temporarily, we're going to state it for the next board meeting. If we need to have a special board meeting, well, that would be something we'll meet if we need to do that. If it's,
The 20th?
if we need to do it. Is that, if we need to meet earlier to make it meet with DLR, well, we can call a special meeting.
What does tabling it like till January 20th do to the overall thing? I mean, you've already moved forward, so really, in the grand scheme of things, nothing?
I think from our perspective, it would need to be sooner than the 20th. If we could find time for a special board meeting, that would be perfect. Because we have, right now, this is holding out commitments to subs, so our subcontractors may have completed some of this work, but none of them have been paid for that.
Okay, thank you. So, if I can clarify it for you, Jamie.
Yes.
And then say if you agree.
Yes.
The motion is to table PCCO2 until we can have a special board meeting in which D, L, and R can be present.
Yes.
That's what we prefer to do at this time.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Okay.
I mean, because this has been brought up before as far as...
I understand. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we table PCCO2 until we can have a special meeting when D, L, and R can be here as well. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Any discussion about the motion to table? Okay. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of tabling PCCO2, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed, vote no. Did I hear any no's?
I haven't voted yet.
Okay, passes 7-0 to table PCCO2 until a later board meeting, which would be a special board meeting that, according to my memory, that's a 3-day notice? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, or we can wait. I mean,
No.
we'll have plenty of time because DLR is going to take some schedule.
But everybody's going to be notified at least 3 days out. Okay, very good. Okay, let's move on to PCCO3. Questions about that one?
I have no questions on that one. I understand that we requested all of those changes,
Okay.
so I
So how do you know that all these things?
Hold on. Okay. Do you have any questions down here for them? Do you have questions for them?
Well, I have a question for Jamie.
Yeah.
How do we know that all these requests are request,
Oh.
our owner's request.
Well, first of all, I asked, but changes in dugouts, there are changes in the dugouts to match, like the softball dugouts to match what's currently there and something that's better. And from what he said in their presentation earlier.
That wasn't
those are
in
all
the design?
Yeah, no. Those were all decisions that we had to like request for the betterment of the softball field, which, excellent, yes, I understand that.
This Dylan and Brett, is that correct? Thank you.
So what is the current budget for the softball field?
It's not separated out of the overall high school budget because there's multiple contractors that work on the main building and the softball area, so there's no way to try and get.
We don't know how much the softball field costs us.
So it's
Yeah,
like
because it's like
the
all the
electrical
chain
is
link
just
and all
included.
the other stuff.
Electrical is part of the list.
This is completely.
The requests were just to increase the bullpens and the batting cages, which allowed practice to occur at that site.
Okay, were there bullpens and batting cages in the first plan, or these?
Yeah.
So,
But we increased
I understand.
to give the opportunity to have practice there, so we could have all our kids practice at the same site.
And the split face block was request to, it was bid at a regular block, or what was the?
No, it was originally changed for the entire dugout. So this is changing it to block instead. And
To make it more suitable like the baseball field.
make it comparable to baseball.
Yeah.
Mrs. Gillian, behind the pole there, this is, Kurt Viner, will this allow for all our teams to practice at this facility?
Yeah, I'm actually one.
I understand it. But freshmen aren't going downtown, JV's not going downtown, or some other fields.
No, I want us to all practice.
We're all going to be at this field if we have this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm concerned as far as these are, wants if they weren't in the original drawing, chain link versus, fancier fences, split block, that sort of stuff. Mr. Wilson said last time we don't have enough money to furnish the high school, there's not enough budget, like where's our money better spent? This versus, we need more chairs, more desks, better stuff for the high school. My thought is that'd be a better place to put our money than, chain link fences versus new fences instead of chain link that we currently have budgeted.
That's a valid concern. I totally understand that. I would argue that these changes are a safety precaution. And hear me out, like I know that sounds so wild, but the number of students that have to drive all the way across town to practice softball causes, even when I was in high school, I remember several girls getting in car accidents driving to and from practice. Then you have the added issue of freshmen find someone to ride with, now sophomores because the driving age has changed, and keeping everyone on campus is a safety issue. And it's their campus, it's their home field.
And if baseball can practice.
So,
Sorry.
Go.
That would be my question, is the baseball field have this?
yes.
Size.
They have-
Yeah. If baseball can all practice together, then softball needs
Well,
to
I-
practice together. That's
Some of the-
that's
Opposed
end
to it,
of
I'm saying it should have been
So-
something thought of earlier than.
But I don't think your baseball practice, some of your baseball teams are not practicing all together. I've seen them downtown. But anyway, we're playing softball in March, so I understand the dugouts. The safety concerns is back when I was employed and working at Hayes High, there was a tornado that happened, and we had no place to put them. And there was a track meet going on, and there were softball kids down, and I can't remember the park, but it's down there by the city. I mean, we had kids spread out all over the place during a tornado drill that concerns me as well. So I think it makes it match the high school, it makes it match the campus, and it has value.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it says the infrastructure for the grandstand and the press box, so that's not in the plan at all?
A grandstand and press box is not anything.
So we don't have bleachers planned for this project?
Correct, just the infrastructure for it.
So, but we do have grandstand and bleachers for the baseball.
The plan will be to bring to the board a request to approve grandstands and press box that will come not from the bond dollars, but come from capital outlay. But that's not part of this.
Well, the infrastructure, that's what I was wondering. I thought it was part of it. I mean, I thought it was all. So what about?
We've got to have the infrastructure to put the grandstands and the press box on, and that's what they're doing.
Which will be a concession stand, maybe?
Concession stand's already there. That's part of the project.
The concession stand bathrooms are already there?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the baseball ones?
The softball field will have its own.
They have, okay, they're part of it, okay.
I guess kind of going through like some of the material there. I mean, just things that caught my eye. Probably good explanations, but cedar beams, 4 of them for $20,000, like so $5,000 a beam. Like, what is that?
Our subcontractors priced what was spec'd and shown in the drawings. So I can't comment necessarily exactly why it's using a cedar beam versus a pressure treated beam, but I would just say longevity of the facility.
Well, I mean, who would have the answer to that? Like, who would know? Who would know? Like,
It would have to be a landscape architect.
from deal. So, I mean, this is some things that we can discuss with them also.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that the majority of it is done as cost effective as it possibly could be.
How do we know that? I mean, trusting you, fine, but I mean, like, how do we actually know? We don't have a project manager that looks out for our interests. Anybody that knows the construction field, I mean, seemed like a nice guy, but how do I know that this is actually part of it? Because Alan asked last meeting, to be part of like the DLR conversations so we could have a role. Ms. Wilson said that wasn't.
That's correct.
I guess the more I thought about that, the more I kind of had a problem with it as far as why can't we be part of listening to what is being discussed? Not even being part of the discussion necessarily.
You were having the discussion tonight.
Well, we're having the discussion, the numbers were put forth in front of us tonight/Friday to try to pass all this stuff without knowing all the information. No, I mean, this is a discussion, but it is not comprehensive.
You know, I don't see us having, if we had what you're asking for, it's not going to change anything. This is the information we have to go by, and that's just going to make us micromanage, and that's not our goal. None of us here are architects or construction.
I would like
They
somebody
are.
to manage, not necessarily micromanage, but I'd like to have somebody on our side to actually, that knows what they're doing.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve the change orders for PCC 03 for the full amount of $228,306.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion?
I would like to, the same reasons before, is to table it so that we could talk about it, find out more information. I agree with all these things. I think we need it. I think we need to match as much as we can to what they have for the baseball field. And I know that we're trying to get it ready so that we can play softball this next spring. So
You would like to table PCC 03 in the same scope of 02? Is that what you're saying with the special meeting?
That's why I don't want to rush into that.
Was that your motion?
Well, we already have a motion in this discussion.
I understand, but to table oversees the main motion. So if you want to table, we'll vote on that first. Because last time I did it wrong, and I've been informed that table can happen during the thing. That's why you would do it.
Okay, I move that we table this with the other
PC 002. Okay.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded. So
So can I make a comment then?
hold on. So let me explain. So if it passes, this will be tabled. If it fails, then we'll go back to vote on PC 003, if that's a clarification for people. So from there, yes, Ruth.
So my question would be, what difference is the softball field proposal tonight versus what the baseball field's already done? Tell me the difference.
Well, I think we could talk to DLR if they're already going to be here for the other meeting to kind of discuss why they went with, $20,000 worth of cedar beams. If there's something, something else that could be.
But are the cedar beams at the baseball field, is my question. Yeah.
Is that the soft? Oh, I guess.
So that's my question. So why would you do the softball field different than the baseball field? What's the difference?
Because we're running out of money, and I think money would be better spent for the students.
No, that's not a good reason.
Yeah, you're talking baseball and softball. You're
We'll
talking
get sued
boys
for
and
that
girls.
reason.
You're talking.
For functionality of.
This is about girls' opportunities in sports. You want to protect girls in sports? This is one of the ways you do it.
Well, I want them to have a nice
They
stadium.
get equal protection. They get equal access to equivalent supporting our
Exactly, if it's a steel beam
That's
versus a
what this
cedar beam,
is.
no, it's not.
It is, though, because if you're making a really pretty baseball field and you make the girls' softball field not so pretty because it's cheaper, then that is not equivalent.
And it should have been brought up at the time of the baseball field and not being.
At some point, somebody came out with one of the chain link fences. I'm not saying one way or another, I'm saying we're running out of money, and the more kids would benefit on a daily basis, serving their academic needs. I want to make the softball fields nice and functional and great, but like at the end of the day, the students are.
We know that said for longevity of it being, so if it lasts 50 years versus 15, we've saved that money.
But we don't know that until we talk to DLR about the materials that they are using, that they're recommending, the longevity. For all I care, let the baseball field be the softball field. They can have nicer facilities. I really don't care who has the nicer facilities. We just need to spend money appropriately.
Okay. I shall call the vote, this first vote, or maybe the only vote, will be to table PCC 03 with the same boundaries of a special meeting with DLNR at a future time.
Kurt, can I ask, I
Yeah.
want to make sure, and then
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the thing that I'm worried about is you've heard all the time, we are on schedule, we're on schedule. Now you're making decisions that are starting to impede schedule, which will impede lots of things. It is a domino thing. So I think you have to be very careful, and you guys need to be really honest how this impedes schedule.
Yeah, I mean, if there's not a decision made before the next board meeting, or I would say even within the next 2 weeks, then it will delay the turnover of the softball field. The picture up there right now is what's completed so far. So a good majority of it is there, and we're ready to move into that area as we have crews coming off of the main building. So obviously the main buildings are being focused, and we're going to focus in there.
Bill, I'm worried about mobilization, because if they don't have work, they're leaving, we're going to have to pay for them to remobilize and come back to the site. I don't know if that's the situation, but those are the things you have to understand. When you start tabling stuff, you're impacting way more than you realize.
When did we know that these were going to be brought to us for changes? Like, is this something that was discovered yesterday? I mean, we asked for, at last meeting, I asked for things to be released early to be able to look at numbers and whatnot. I didn't see that they were, so I mean, our due diligence is not, it's on you guys to get the information in front of us in a timely fashion where we can act on it appropriately. Pushing it on us to make a decision, within 3 days of potentially seeing some of the information is not right.
Okay.
So
we shall call the vote. All those in favor to table PCC 03 to a future special meeting date with DLNR, vote yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, vote no.
No.
No. Five-two. Motion fails 5-2. All right, the original motion, I'm pretty sure Mr. Brooks made that one, about approving the funding for PCC 003 for the Lord here, for the full amount of $228,306. All those in favor, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, vote no.
No.
The last one didn't come up on my screen. Did I vote correct? Like, I meant to vote yes.
Motion passes 5-2. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it very much. Another word before we move on.
I have a quick question.
Hold on. Let me make my comment first. I think we should probably, if we're going to have these kinds of issues and we're going to have to call back and it's on a time thing and we got construction crews coming on and we got dates, maybe we should consider a project manager. And I wouldn't mind entertaining that when we have our March meeting for the future. events that we got going on. So if we have somebody that's looking out for us, we can have these conversations before we ever get to this point. That would be my 2 cents. Any other?
Well, that was part of my question is that we found out tonight we're going to have a press box and grandstand.
I understand.
It would be nice to get that information as soon as possible, what it's supposed to be, and how much that's going to be.
So my question would be project manager who would...
You hire an outside source that represents the board. I think they're old retired architects or somebody that is viewing and going through this stuff for the benefit of us so that we're not...
And what would you imagine?
It might be more cost, but we tabled something for architectural redos of $110,000, so I think...
Your salary.
You're going to pay Peter or pay Paul. That's my 2 cents, and that's how I feel.
I have a question about that.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, I agree. I think a project manager would be a really smart investment here, but would that be a temporary position? Like, what do you do when the bond's over?
Well, it's a temporary. You're hired by the hour, by the whatever you deem their job order.
Okay.
I think we'd have to do some research, but I think they're there, and I think they're more common than not common on these projects. Because when I was down at the KSAB at the conference, they wanted to know if you had a project manager. Several of them asked me. So I don't think we're asking for something that's not done.
And so could they make recommendations of who you would hire for something like that?
I think they'd keep us informed.
No, would
No, I'm sorry.
make recommendations?
Oh, I don't know that at all.
I have no idea how that would work. I have no idea.
But just understand, you guys have hired Naples, they're construction managers. That's what they do. They're really good at it. I mean, I think your guys are totally missing the boat here. These guys do that for you. They have saved you millions of dollars in what they do, because they look at every detail. You guys don't have a great concept of how big this project is. You're thinking in very small terms. I don't know if you've ever done a home project. Every time you do a home project, you didn't think of this, and you add costs. It's always more expensive. These guys, yes, we had some cost increases. That's fairly normal. I have done 2 other bond issues, and that is expected. That you will have change orders that will increase. This is a $100 million high school. You guys are thinking very small right now. This is way bigger than any of us can comprehend. They have a staff of 20 to 30 people who work on this 8 hours a day, every day, and then some. And then they are digging through every detail. And I don't think you're giving them enough credit for what they do.
And I think Ron, that I'm just thinking a project manager. If I came into a project that's 3/4 done, it's going to take him 3-4 months
There's not one person that can do
even
this.
review it all.
I think.
Okay. All right, I think we can have this discussion in March.
Can I ask that one question since we're here now? As far as other schools that you do, do most of them have a project manager, 60/40, other schools that you've done, how does it normally go?
Out of the last 4 bond issues that I've done, not one of them has had a project manager.
And what scope were those bond issues? Were they 140 million or 200 million?
Prairie View, which is in the 20s, Lewisburg School District, which was in the upper low 30s, and then Leavenworth, which was the mid 40s.
Yeah, so we're...
Okay, I think it needs to be discussed in March. Okay? Let's move on. 6.2, policy updates, first read.
Okay, just go through these policies. This is a first read, no action tonight. Policy BDA, just some grammatical changes. Add some words may, necessary, I think were the words. Policy CC is just giving the district some action to have an organizational chart. Once these are approved, if this policy approved, we'll probably most likely create an organizational chart that will follow. Policy CD is a policy that has entirely been removed, as well as policy CGI, and those have been combined into policy CG for administrative personnel. You can look at those changes nothing big there. Policy CNA, it's just some grammatical changes, but the problem is we did not have that policy, so we're adding that. And that's just how we preserve our documents of legal documents and what we need to do to take care of those. Policy DE is fraud prevention, and it's just a policy about that outline the complaint procedures to be used in certain circumstances with complaints. Policy ICA is a policy that's used to just outline the requirements under the Pupil Protection Rights Amendment. Just really relates to student surveys. There's been some things put in the last several years about student surveys. So if we do a pilot project, it's just ensuring that we follow the changes, legislative changes to student surveys. Policy IDACA, Special Ed, Education Services. It's just, this is a policy that's amended. I think they removed some things about requiring it to be in the home district to provide special ed services. Policy JGFGAA is that stock supply emergency medication. If you remember, there was a legislative change last year that allows the school district to start stocking epinephrine and albuterol at our school, but there's just some changes in terms of how those policies are outlined when kids bring it from their home and they have parental consent versus how they're when it's from the stock supply at the school. Policy JGFGBA is just the administration. It follows the exact same. I might have got those a little mixed up, but that's how the when the student takes the stock supply versus what they bring from home. And then policy KN is just dealing with complaints and just making some changes to formal complaint timelines and, of course, complaints against the superintendent. There you go. You finally got an official place to make an
To fill out the form, huh?
There you go. And that's just a quick summary of all those. You can review those and look at them, and if you have questions, please reach out.
We will. Second read will be the next board meeting?
Second read, yeah, January.
Okay. All right, before we adjourn, I'm sure we'll get a hold of DLNR and we'll figure out when we can meet again sooner.
Figure out.
And during holiday season, probably the bigger the, well, I understand.
Yeah, I'll see.
If we can get them together, but also it'd be more convenient if we have a few days notice trying to make schedules work.
Yeah, it won't be
okay.
next day.
I appreciate that very much. Anything else for the good of the cause? Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, we have 6.3.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I did not update.
They're not on there.
Yeah, I refreshed it.
Were.
Yeah, they were. I have, and they disappeared.
And they disappeared. That's fine. We can do it, Jess. Okay, board meeting minutes. I apologize. It's not on my screen. That's why I went. That's why I went by. Mr. Park.
Yes, sir.
There it is. If you refresh again, it'll.
Again. I'll just leave it.
On 6.3 Lincoln Elementary property sale, I move that we add to the minutes. It was noted that the county appraisal is listed at $3,042,260. That doesn't need to be on there.
That's not a correction.
That's my motion.
I think it's reasonable. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the minutes include. Can you repeat that? Hold on. Mr. Park? Okay. Yes. Can you say it slow from Jess, please?
Where it says turnkey property solutions, I made motion to put, it was noted, the county appraisal is listed at $3,042,260.
What's the number?
6.3.
Yeah, it's 6.3.
What was the amount?
$360.
And you got that off of the county appraisal?
Okay.
We don't normally put discussion points on there.
There are no other discussion points?
We will vote on it. If you don't want it on there, vote no.
Oh, are we not?
Yeah, well, I'm not there yet. I'm waiting for Jess. I'm sorry, Ken. I just want to make sure Jess is with us before we start.
$3,422,000.
No, $3,042,000.
What's the rest?
$260.
So, do you have the motion, Jess? Okay. We'll read it again before we vote. Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah, we don't normally, like I said, we don't normally put discussion points on there. We don't, we put our vote on there. That amount coming from the county, we talked about it. It's a non-tax building. The accuracy is not something that we need to go by there. I don't see any point in us adding this on here.
I disagree. That was part of the discussion. It was brought up in the discussion. If you look at other items on the agenda, you know, the board docs, negotiations, there's some discussion items that's listed there. It's just a short addition to it. I think it's transparent. It was in the news article that was in yesterday. I just think that it should be listed to be totally transparent. Put that down as it's an important thing. We got almost 100-year-old building that's been part of our community,
okay.
And that's part of the county appraisal, which I have faith in. That's
okay.
All our tax money is based on that appraisal.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Yes.
Are you asking?
If it votes yes, the minutes will be approved with this addition. If we vote no, then we're going to go back.
I understand that.
And make
Where's
those.
that addition being, is it being added to the motion or is it being added to the notes under the motion? Well, no, all there is on there is just the motion, right?
Yeah, there's no notes.
I just feel like that's kind of shady because that's not what we voted on. And like we vote on the motion. I'm not saying shady's not the right word. I just feel like that's, like we vote on the motion as specified and that's not what we voted on.
Okay.
Correct, and that's public record. So anybody that questions the value of that property, you can go, on anybody's property, you can go see the valuation yourself.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
I think it doesn't hurt anything. It's important to Mr. Park to have it on. I think that it's fine to put on.
Okay. Jess, can you read that to us? And is it going to pop up as a yes or no on our screens? What is it? Okay.
Motion to add a county appraisal value of the building is $3,422,660.
Yeah, something.
42,000 over.
Now, do we even know that's the right amount?
We should.
I don't know.
I mean, we voted on it. We got to know for sure what the value
Okay.
is.
I mean, here's
Jess, do you?
A zero before the 4. It's
Zero before the
3,042,000. So 3,042, comma 260.
Okay, so that amount is added to the minutes on 6.3 and then.
I don't think that's right, though. Is that right?
No, she's working on it. Oh, 600.
Okay, my motion was, I move that we add after property solutions, the word or the phrase, it was noted that the county appraisal is listed at this amount. It was noted, because that's accurate. That's part of the discussion. That's my motion. There it is.
Okay. You did it.
Is that what you wanted to say?
Okay, where's it at now? I can't.
Okay, after the phrase turnkey properties, period, after that period, it was noted in the, I don't know, it was part of the discussion that the county appraisal was that amount. It's simple. That's what I have it written out.
Okay. Mr. Park, is that good enough?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the motion is to add that to the minutes. And then regardless if it passes or fails, then we'll need a motion and a second to pass the minutes. All those in favor of adding that to the minutes, vote yes.
Yes.
All those that oppose adding that to the minutes, vote no.
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 Motion fails.
Motion failed 5-2. I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes.
I so move.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. Any discussion? Am I too fast for you, Jess? Awesome. Okay. All those in favor of passing the minutes, vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, no.
No.
5-2. Passes 5-2. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
It's been moved. Jamie, you seconded?
I sure do.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor, yes.
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 All those opposed, no. Is that, are we voting on that? There it is.
It just popped up. It just popped up.
I did, it popped online. Passes. Adjournment of the meeting. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.